Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another English learning session. I'm so happy you're here today. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. And if you've been here before, it's wonderful to have you back. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to spend some quality time together, just you and me, talking about everyday life, sharing stories, and of course, practicing English in the most natural way possible. I know learning a new language can feel overwhelming sometimes. Trust me, I get it. There are so many rules to remember, so many words to learn, and sometimes it feels like you'll never sound natural when you speak. But here's the thing, the best way to learn English isn't by memorizing grammar rules or studying vocabulary lists for hours. The best way is by listening, absorbing, and getting used to how English actually sounds in real conversations. That's exactly what we're going to do today. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, get comfortable, and let's dive in. I'm going to talk to you the way I'd talk to a friend, using simple, clear English that you can follow along with. And don't worry if you don't understand every single word right away. That's completely normal. Just keep listening, and you'll be surprised at how much you pick up naturally. Let me start by telling you a little bit about my morning today. I woke up around 7:30, which is pretty typical for me. I'm definitely not a morning person, so that first moment when the alarm goes off is always a bit rough. You know that feeling, right? When you hear that alarm sound and you just want to hit the snooze button and sleep for 5 more minutes? Yeah, that was me this morning. But I dragged myself out of bed because I had things to do. The first thing I always do is open the curtains and let some light in. I really believe that natural light helps wake you up. Then I headed straight to the kitchen to make some coffee. Coffee is absolutely essential for me in the morning. I can't function without it. I'm not exaggerating. Without that first cup of coffee, I'm basically a zombie walking around the house. While the coffee was brewing, I checked my phone for a few minutes. I know, everyone says you shouldn't look at your phone first thing in the morning, but I can't help it. I like to see if I have any important messages or emails. Plus, I usually check the weather to see what kind of day it's going to be. Today it said it would be partly cloudy, with a chance of rain later. That's pretty typical for this time of year where I live. After I had my coffee, I made myself some breakfast. Nothing fancy, just some scrambled eggs and toast. I'm not someone who makes elaborate breakfasts on a regular weekday. I save that for the weekends when I have more time. During the week, I keep it simple. Scrambled eggs are one of my favorite quick breakfasts because they're easy to make and they fill you up. While I was eating, I was thinking about all the things I needed to get done today. I had to go grocery shopping, do some laundry, work on a few projects, and of course, prepare for this recording with you. It's funny how quickly our to-do lists grow, isn't it? It feels like there's always something that needs to be done. Speaking of grocery shopping, let me tell you about my trip to the supermarket yesterday. It's actually a funny story, and I think it'll be helpful for your English practice because we'll cover a lot of everyday vocabulary. So yesterday afternoon, I realized I was running low on food. My refrigerator was basically empty except for some condiments, a few eggs, and half a bottle of milk. It was definitely time to go shopping. I made a list before I left, which is something I always try to do. If I don't make a list, I end up forgetting half the things I need and buying a bunch of stuff I don't need. Has that ever happened to you? You go to the store for milk and bread, and you come home with everything except milk and bread? It happens to the best of us. So I grabbed my reusable shopping bags, which I keep by the front door so I don't forget them, and headed out. The supermarket is only about a 10-minute drive from my house, so it's pretty convenient. When I got there, the parking lot was surprisingly full. I had to circle around a few times before I found a spot. That's one of the annoying things about shopping in the late afternoon. Everyone else has the same idea. I walked into the store and grabbed a shopping cart. You know, in some countries they call it a trolley, but here in the US we usually say shopping cart or just cart. Anyway, I started in the produce section because that's where the fruits and vegetables are. I picked up some apples, bananas, tomatoes, lettuce, and a bunch of other fresh produce. I try to eat healthy most of the time, so I always stock up on fruits and vegetables. Then I moved on to the dairy section. I needed milk, yogurt, and cheese while I was looking at the yogurt. I ran into my neighbor, Mrs. Johnson. We chatted for a few minutes about the weather and how our gardens were doing. She's such a sweet lady, probably in her late 60s, and she always has a smile on her face. She told me about her grandson who just started college, and I could tell how proud she was of him. After saying goodbye to Mrs. Johnson, I continued my shopping. I went down the cereal aisle and picked up a box of oatmeal. I love having oatmeal for breakfast, especially on cold mornings. It's warm, comforting, and you can add so many different toppings to it. Sometimes I add fresh berries, sometimes sliced bananas and a drizzle of honey, and sometimes just a sprinkle of cinnamon and a little brown sugar. Next, I needed to get some pasta and rice. These are staples in my kitchen because they're so versatile. You can make so many different meals with pasta and rice. I grabbed a couple boxes of spaghetti and a bag of brown rice. I also picked up a jar of marinara sauce because sometimes you just need a quick, easy dinner, and pasta with marinara sauce is perfect for that. As I was walking through the store, I realized I needed to get some cleaning supplies too. I was running low on dish soap and laundry detergent, so I headed over to that section and grabbed what I needed. It's not the most exciting part of shopping, but it's necessary, right? We all need clean dishes and clean clothes. By the time I got to the checkout line, my cart was pretty full. I always seem to buy more than I originally planned, even when I have a list. I got in line behind a man who was buying what looked like supplies for a party. He had bags of chips, soda, paper plates, napkins, and a big birthday cake. I wondered whose birthday it was and hoped they'd have a great celebration. While I was waiting, I noticed a magazine rack near the checkout. You know those displays with magazines, candy, and gum that they put right by the register? They do that on purpose because they know people will impulse buy while they're waiting in line. I'm usually pretty good at resisting, but yesterday I grabbed a pack of mint gum. I mean, it was only $1.99, so I figured why not. When it was finally my turn, I started loading my groceries onto the conveyor belt. The cashier, a young guy probably in his early 20s, greeted me with a cheerful hello. I like when cashiers are friendly. It makes the whole experience more pleasant. He scanned all my items quickly, and we made small talk about how busy the store was. The total came to about $85, which is pretty typical for a week's worth of groceries for one person. I paid with my credit card, grabbed my receipt, and started loading the bags back into my cart. Then I wheeled the cart out to my car, loaded everything into the trunk, and headed home. When I got home, I had to make several trips from the car to my apartment because I had so many bags. This is always the worst part of grocery shopping, in my opinion. The actual shopping is fine, even kind of enjoyable sometimes, but hauling all those heavy bags up to my apartment? Not so fun. Especially when you live on the second floor and there's no elevator, which is my situation. But eventually I got everything inside and put away. Putting groceries away is oddly satisfying to me. I like organizing everything in the pantry and the refrigerator. It makes me feel like I have my life together, you know? Like, okay, I'm an adult, I went grocery shopping, I have food in my house, I'm doing great. It's the little things that make you feel accomplished sometimes. All right, so that's my grocery shopping story. I hope you found that useful for learning everyday English vocabulary. These kinds of ordinary experiences are actually great for language learning because they involve words and phrases you'll use all the time in real life. Things like shopping cart, produce section, checkout line, conveyor belt. These are practical words that native speakers use constantly. Now let me shift gears a little bit and talk about something I've been thinking about lately. I've been thinking about hobbies and how important it is to have things you enjoy doing outside of work or school. Life can get so busy and stressful, and I think we all need activities that help us relax and recharge. One of my favorite hobbies is reading. I absolutely love getting lost in a good book. There's something magical about opening a book and being transported to a different world or learning about someone else's life experiences. I try to read for at least 30 minutes every day, usually before bed. It's part of my nighttime routine, and it helps me wind down after a long day. I read all kinds of books, fiction and nonfiction. Lately, I've been really into mystery novels. There's something so satisfying about trying to figure out who committed the crime before the end of the book. I like the challenge of piecing together the clues and seeing if I can solve the mystery. Sometimes I guess correctly, and sometimes the author completely surprises me with a twist I never saw coming. But I also enjoy reading memoirs and biographies. I find it fascinating to learn about other people's lives, especially people who have overcome significant challenges or achieved remarkable things. Reading about their experiences gives me perspective on my own life and often inspires me to keep pushing forward when things get tough. Another hobby of mine is cooking. I mentioned earlier that I keep my breakfasts pretty simple during the week, but I really enjoy cooking more elaborate meals on the weekends. There's something creative and therapeutic about being in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, mixing ingredients, and creating something delicious from scratch. Last weekend, I tried making homemade pizza for the first time. I made the dough from scratch, which was a bit intimidating because I'd never done it before. You have to mix flour, water, yeast, salt, and a little bit of olive oil, and then you have to knead the dough for about 10 minutes. Kneading means you push and fold the dough with your hands to develop the gluten, which gives the dough its structure. After kneading, you have to let the dough rise for about an hour. This means you cover it with a cloth and leave it in a warm place so the yeast can do its work and make the dough puff up. I was worried it wouldn't rise properly, but it worked perfectly. After an hour, the dough had doubled in size. Then came the fun part, putting on the toppings. I spread tomato sauce on the dough, sprinkled on some mozzarella cheese, and added my favorite toppings, pepperoni, mushrooms, and bell peppers. Then I put it in the oven at a really high temperature, about 475 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 245 degrees Celsius. It only took about 12 minutes to bake, and when I pulled it out, it looked and smelled amazing. I have to say that homemade pizza was one of the best pizzas I've ever had. There's something special about making something yourself. It tastes better because you put effort and love into it, you know? Plus, it's fun. I'm definitely going to make homemade pizza again. Maybe I'll experiment with different toppings next time. Speaking of food, let's talk about restaurants for a minute. I don't cook every single meal at home. Sometimes it's nice to go out and let someone else do the cooking. There's a little Italian restaurant near my house that I absolutely love. It's family-owned and has been there for years. The atmosphere is cozy and warm, and the staff always makes you feel welcome. My favorite dish there is the fettuccine alfredo. If you're not familiar with it, fettuccine is a type of pasta. It's flat and thick, kind of like wide ribbons. Alfredo sauce is a creamy sauce made with butter, cream, and Parmesan cheese. It's incredibly rich and delicious, though definitely not something you should eat every day if you're watching your calories. The last time I went there, I also tried their minestrone soup as an appetizer. Minestrone is a traditional Italian soup made with vegetables, beans, and sometimes pasta. It's hearty and flavorful, and it's a great way to start a meal. The bread they serve with it is fantastic too, warm and crusty on the outside, soft on the inside, perfect for dipping in the soup. For dessert, I couldn't resist ordering the tiramisu. Tiramisu is a classic Italian dessert made with layers of coffee-soaked ladyfinger cookies and a creamy mixture made with mascarpone cheese, eggs, and sugar. It's dusted with cocoa powder on top. It's sweet but not too sweet, and the coffee flavor gives it a sophisticated taste. Honestly, their tiramisu is so good, I could eat it every day. Restaurants are interesting places for language learners because there's specific vocabulary you need to know. For example, when you first arrive at a restaurant, the host or hostess will ask, "How many in your party?" They're not asking if you're having a party like a celebration. In this context, party just means your group. So if you're dining alone, you'd say, just one, or if you're with someone else, you'd say, two, or however many people you have. Then they'll seat you at a table and give you menus. The menu lists all the food and drinks available, along with the prices. Soon after, your server or waiter will come to your table and usually say something like, "Hi, I'm Sarah and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you off with something to drink?" This is your chance to order a beverage. That's the formal word for a drink. You might order water, soda, juice, coffee, tea, or if it's that kind of restaurant, maybe wine or beer. If you need more time to decide what to eat, you can just order your drink first and tell the server, "We need a few more minutes to look at the menu." When you're ready to order your food, you'll tell the server what you want. You might say something like, "I'll have the grilled chicken salad," or "I'd like the cheeseburger with fries, please." Notice how we use phrases like "I'll have" or "I'd like" when ordering. These are polite ways to request what you want. After you've finished eating, the server will usually ask, "How was everything?" This is a polite way to check if you enjoyed your meal. You can respond with something simple like, "It was great, thank you," or "Everything was delicious." Then when you're ready to leave, you'll ask for the check or the bill. In American English, we usually say check, but bill is also perfectly fine. The server will bring you a folder or tray with the total amount you need to pay. In the US, it's customary to leave a tip for your server, usually 15 to 20% of your total bill, depending on the quality of service. All right, let's talk about something different now. Let's talk about transportation and getting around. This is another topic that's really useful for everyday English conversation. Where I live, most people drive cars to get around. Public transportation exists, but it's not as extensive as in some other countries or big cities. So having a car is pretty much necessary here. I have a car, a small sedan. It's nothing fancy, but it's reliable and gets me where I need to go. I've had it for about 5 years now, and it's been a good car. I take it in for regular maintenance, like oil changes and tire rotations, to keep it running well. Car maintenance might not sound exciting, but it's important if you want your car to last a long time. One thing I don't love about having a car is dealing with traffic. Rush hour traffic can be really frustrating. Rush hour is the time of day when lots of people are commuting to or from work, usually in the morning around 7 to 9 and in the evening around 5 to 7. During these times, the roads get really congested, which means they're packed with cars moving slowly. I try to avoid driving during rush hour when possible. If I need to run errands or go somewhere, I'll try to go mid-morning or early afternoon when there's less traffic. It just makes the whole experience more pleasant. Nobody likes sitting in traffic, inching along slowly, right? It's boring and it wastes time. Parking is another challenge in some areas. In downtown areas or busy shopping districts, it can be hard to find parking. Sometimes you have to park in a parking garage, which is a multi-level structure. Specifically for parking cars, you usually have to pay to park in these garages, either by the hour or a flat rate. There's usually a machine where you pay and get a ticket before you leave. Street parking is another option, but you have to pay attention to the signs. Some streets have meters where you pay for a certain amount of time. Other streets have restrictions like no parking between 4 and 6 p.m. or 2-hour parking limit. If you don't follow these rules, you might get a parking ticket, which is a fine you have to pay. Parking tickets are annoying and can be expensive, so it's worth taking the time to read the signs carefully. Of course, not everyone drives. Some people prefer to walk, bike, or use public transportation. Walking is great exercise and it's free. If you live in a walkable neighborhood where stores, restaurants, and other amenities are close by, walking can be a really convenient option. Plus, it's good for the environment. Biking is another eco-friendly option. Many cities are becoming more bike-friendly by adding bike lanes on the roads and bike racks where you can lock up your bike. I like to bike occasionally, especially on nice days. There's a bike path near my house that goes through a park, and it's a really pleasant ride. The fresh air and physical activity always make me feel good. Public transportation includes buses, trains, and subways. In big cities, public transportation is often the most practical way to get around because traffic and parking are such challenges. I visited cities where I relied entirely on the subway system, and it was actually great. The trains came frequently, they were relatively clean, and they got me where I needed to go efficiently. Using public transportation requires knowing a few key terms. For example, when you enter a subway or train station, you usually need to pay a fare, which is the cost of your ride. You might buy a single ride ticket or a pass that's valid for multiple rides or a certain time period, like a day pass or a month pass. Once you've paid, you'll go through a turnstile, which is a rotating gate that lets you into the station one person at a time. Then you'll look at the signs to figure out which platform you need. The platform is where you wait for your train or subway. Make sure you're on the right platform because trains might go in different directions, like northbound or southbound, eastbound or westbound. When the train arrives, wait for passengers too. Exit before you board. Boarding means getting on the train. Once you're on, you can sit down if there are available seats or hold onto a pole or strap if you're standing. Pay attention to the announcements or the signs inside the train so you know when your stop is coming up. When it's your stop, you'll exit the train, which means you get off. I find public transportation fascinating because it's such an important part of daily life for millions of people around the world. And the vocabulary around it is really useful to know, especially if you're planning to travel or live in a big city. Okay, let's shift topics again. I want to talk about weather because it's something we all experience and talk about regularly. Weather is actually one of the most common topics for small talk. When you're making casual conversation with someone, maybe a neighbor or a coworker, talking about the weather is an easy, safe topic. You might say something like, "Beautiful day today, isn't it?" Or, "Can you believe how hot it is?" Or, "Looks like we might get some rain later." These are simple comments that can start a friendly conversation, and the other person will usually agree and add their own observation about the weather. The weather where I live changes quite a bit throughout the year because we have 4 distinct seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. Each season has its own characteristics and activities associated with it. Let me walk you through what each season is like. Spring starts in late March and goes through May. This is when the weather starts to warm up after the cold winter. The trees begin to grow new leaves, flowers start blooming, and everything feels fresh and new. Spring is a beautiful time of year. The temperature is usually mild, meaning it's not too hot and not too cold, just comfortable. However, spring also brings a lot of rain. The saying goes, "April showers bring May flowers," which means the rain in April helps the flowers bloom in May. Summer runs from June through August. This is the warmest time of year. Where I live, summer temperatures typically range from the mid-70s to the mid-90s Fahrenheit. That's about 24 to 35 degrees Celsius. On really hot days, it can feel uncomfortable, especially if it's humid. Humidity is the amount of moisture in the air. When it's humid, the air feels thick and heavy, and you sweat more because your sweat doesn't evaporate as easily. Despite the heat, I love summer. Days are long, with the sun setting late, sometimes as late as 9 p.m. This means you have more daylight hours to do things. Summer is perfect for outdoor activities like swimming, hiking, having barbecues, and going to the beach. A lot of people take vacations during the summer, especially families with kids who are out of school. Fall, which some people call autumn, lasts from September through November. This is my favorite season. The weather starts to cool down, which is a relief after the hot summer. The temperature is usually in the 50s to 70s Fahrenheit, which is about 10 to 25 degrees Celsius. It's perfect weather for wearing light sweaters or jackets. The best part of fall is the changing leaves. The leaves on the trees turn beautiful shades of red, orange, yellow, and brown before they fall off the trees. This creates stunning landscapes, especially in areas with lots of trees. People often go on drives or hikes just to see the fall foliage, which is another word for leaves. Fall also brings holidays like Halloween and Thanksgiving. Halloween is on October 31st, and it's especially fun for kids. They dress up in costumes and go trick or treating, which means they go door to door in their neighborhood asking for candy. People decorate their houses with pumpkins, ghosts, and other spooky decorations. Thanksgiving is in late November, and it's a day when families gather together to share a big meal and express gratitude for what they have. The traditional Thanksgiving meal includes turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and pie for dessert, usually pumpkin pie or apple pie. It's a lot of food. People often eat so much that they feel stuffed afterward. Then comes winter, which runs from December through February. Winter is cold, obviously. Temperature can drop below freezing, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. When it's below freezing, any precipitation falls as snow instead of rain. Snow is beautiful but can also be a hassle. You have to shovel the snow from your driveway and sidewalk, and driving in snowy conditions can be dangerous. Winter includes major holidays like Christmas and New Year's Eve. Christmas is on December 25th, and it's both a religious holiday celebrating the birth of Jesus and a cultural holiday with traditions like decorating Christmas trees, exchanging gifts, and spending time with family. Many people put up lights and decorations on their homes, and neighborhoods can look really festive and beautiful. New Year's Eve is on December 31st, and it's when we celebrate the end of one year and the beginning of the next. Many people stay up until midnight to watch the ball drop in Times Square on TV, or they go to parties with friends. At midnight, everyone counts down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. Then there are fireworks and people make noise and celebrate. Weather-related vocabulary is extensive in English. Let me give you some more words and phrases. When it rains lightly, we might say it's drizzling or sprinkling. A heavy rain might be called a downpour. It's pouring means it's raining really hard. There's even a children's rhyme that goes, "Rain, rain, go away, come again another day." When it's very windy, we might say it's blustery or gusty. A gentle wind is a breeze. If it's sunny with clear skies, we say it's a clear day or a sunny day. If there are lots of clouds, it's cloudy or overcast. If you can't see far because of water droplets in the air, that's fog, and we say it's foggy. Storms are weather events with strong winds, heavy rain, thunder, and lightning. Thunder is the loud booming sound you hear, and lightning is the bright flash of light in the sky. Some people are afraid of thunderstorms, but I actually find them kind of exciting, as long as I'm safe inside my house. In winter, we might have a snowstorm or a blizzard, which is a severe snowstorm with strong winds and heavy snow. After a big snowstorm, kids love to build snowmen or have snowball fights. Adults, on the other hand, are often less enthusiastic because they have to shovel all that snow. All right, I think we've covered weather pretty thoroughly. Let's talk about something else. How about technology? Technology is such a huge part of our modern lives, isn't it? It's hard to imagine living without smartphones, computers, and the internet. I remember when I was a kid, things were so different. We didn't have smartphones. If you wanted to call someone, you used a landline, which is a regular telephone that's connected to the wall with a cord. And if you weren't home, people couldn't reach you. There was no texting or instant messaging. If you wanted to tell your friend something, you had to actually call them and talk, or wait until you saw them in person. The internet existed when I was growing up, but it was much slower and less sophisticated than it is now. We had dial-up internet, which meant you had to connect your computer to the internet through your phone line. It made this weird screeching sound as it connected, and it was so slow. Downloading a single song could take 10 or 15 minutes. Now you can download entire movies in seconds if you have a good internet connection. Social media didn't exist in the way it does now. There was no Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter. If you wanted to share photos with friends, you had to print them out or email them, and emailing photos took forever because the files were so large for the slow internet speeds. These days, everything is instant. You can communicate with anyone, anywhere in the world in seconds. You can video chat with someone on the other side of the planet. You can order food, buy groceries, book travel, do your banking, all from your phone. It's incredibly convenient, but sometimes I wonder if we've become too dependent on technology. I try to have a healthy relationship with technology. I use it because it's useful and necessary, but I also try to unplug sometimes. By unplug, I mean disconnecting from technology and doing things that don't involve screens. Reading a physical book instead of an e-book. Going for a walk without my phone. Having a conversation with someone face-to-face instead of texting. There's actually a term for the anxiety people feel when they don't have their phone. It's called nomophobia. That's no mobile phone phobia. Some people genuinely panic if they can't find their phone or if their battery dies. I try not to be that attached to my device, but I'll admit, it does feel weird to be without it. One thing I really appreciate about technology is how it's made learning more accessible. You can learn almost anything online now. Want to learn a new language? There are apps and websites for that. Want to learn how to play guitar? There are thousands of video tutorials on YouTube. Want to take a college course? Many universities offer free online courses. This is especially true for language learning. When I think about how people learned languages in the past, it was so much harder. You needed to buy expensive textbooks and audio programs, or hire a private tutor, or enroll in classes. Now there are so many free or affordable resources available online. You can watch videos, listen to podcasts, use apps, join online communities of other learners. It's amazing. That's part of why I wanted to create content to help people learn English. I know there are people all over the world who want to improve their English skills, and I want to help make that journey a little easier. English can be a challenging language to learn. I'm aware of that. The spelling doesn't always make sense, the pronunciation can be tricky, and there are so many exceptions to the grammar rules. But here's what I want you to know: you don't have to be perfect. Native English speakers make mistakes too. We mispronounce words, we use incorrect grammar sometimes, we forget vocabulary. Language is messy and imperfect, and that's okay. The goal isn't perfection, the goal is communication. If you can express your ideas and understand others, you're doing great. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to not be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are how we learn. Every time you make a mistake and correct it, you're strengthening your understanding of the language. So embrace your mistakes. They're not failures, they're steps forward in your learning journey. Another tip is to immerse yourself in English as much as possible. Listen to English music, watch English movies and TV shows, read English books and articles, follow English speakers on social media. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it will become. Your brain will start to recognize patterns and pick up on how sentences are structured, how words are used, how native speakers express ideas. And don't forget to practice speaking, even if it's just to yourself. Talk out loud in English. Narrate what you're doing. If you're making breakfast, say out loud, "I'm cracking the eggs into the bowl. Now I'm whisking them. Now I'm pouring them into the pan." It might feel silly at first, but it's actually really helpful. You're training your mouth and your brain to work together to produce English sounds and sentences. If you have the opportunity to speak with native English speakers, take it. Don't worry about sounding foolish or making mistakes. Most people are patient and encouraging when they know you're learning their language. And honestly, anyone who judges you for trying to learn a new language isn't worth your time anyway. Learning a new language is impressive and takes courage. Let me share a quick story about language learning. I have a friend who moved to the US from Korea about 10 years ago. When she first arrived, her English was pretty basic. She could handle simple conversations, but struggled with anything more complex. She told me that the first few months were really hard. She felt frustrated because she couldn't express herself the way she wanted to. There were so many times when she knew what she wanted to say in Korean, but couldn't figure out how to say it in English. But she didn't give up. She practiced every single day. She watched American TV shows with subtitles. She listened to English podcasts during her commute. She joined a conversation group where people practiced speaking English together. She read English books, starting with simple ones and gradually moving to more challenging ones. And you know what? Her English is excellent now. She speaks fluently and confidently. She's told me that she still makes mistakes sometimes, and there are still words she doesn't know, but she's comfortable communicating in English. She can do her job, make friends, handle everyday situations, all in English. She's really proud of how far she's come, and she should be. Her story is inspiring to me, and I hope it's inspiring to you too. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time and consistent effort, but it's absolutely achievable. You can do this. All right, let's talk about something fun. Let's talk about hobbies and free time activities. I touched on this earlier when I mentioned reading and cooking, but there are so many other things people enjoy doing in their spare time. Some people are really into sports. They might play on recreational teams, like a community soccer league or a softball team, or they might enjoy individual sports like running, swimming, or cycling. Exercise is a great hobby because it's good for your physical health and your mental health. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, which are chemicals that make you feel good. That's why people often feel happier and less stressed after a workout. Other people enjoy creative hobbies. This could be things like painting, drawing, photography, writing, crafting, knitting, or playing a musical instrument. Creative hobbies are wonderful because they let you express yourself and make something with your own hands. There's a real sense of accomplishment when you finish a creative project, whether it's a painting, a scarf you knitted, or a song you learned to play on the piano. Some people like collecting things as a hobby. Common collections include stamps, coins, trading cards, or vintage items. Collectors enjoy the thrill of finding rare or unique pieces to add to their collection. Some collections can even become valuable over time. Gardening is another popular hobby. There's something satisfying about planting seeds or small plants and watching them grow. Plus, if you're growing vegetables or herbs, you get to eat what you've grown. I have a small herb garden on my balcony with basil, mint, and rosemary. I love being able to step outside and snip fresh herbs to use in my cooking. Traveling is a hobby for people who love exploring new places and experiencing different cultures. Travel can be expensive, but it's so enriching. When you travel, you see how other people live, you try new foods, you visit historical sites and natural wonders, and you create memories that last a lifetime. I try to take at least 1 or 2 trips a year, even if they're just weekend getaways to nearby places. Some people enjoy quieter hobbies like doing puzzles or playing board games. Jigsaw puzzles can be really relaxing. You can work on them while listening to music or a podcast, and there's something meditative about finding where each piece fits. Board games are fun to play with family or friends. Game night can be a great way to spend time together and have some laughs. Then there are people who love learning as a hobby. They take classes or teach themselves new skills. This could be learning a language, like you're doing right now, or learning to code, or studying history, or taking an online course about something that interests them. Lifelong learning keeps your mind sharp and engaged. What's important is finding hobbies that you genuinely enjoy, not just things you think you should do. Your free time is precious, so spend it doing things that make you happy and help you relax. Life is busy and stressful enough, so your hobbies should be something you look forward to, not another obligation on your to-do list. I think hobbies are also important because they give you something to talk about with other people. When you meet someone new and you're making small talk, a common question is, "So, what do you like to do in your free time?" Having interesting hobbies makes you more interesting. Plus, shared hobbies are a great way to connect with people and make friends. Speaking of making friends, let's talk about friendships for a bit. Friendships are such an important part of life. Your friends are the people who support you, make you laugh, and stand by you through good times and bad times. I feel really grateful for the friends I have in my life. I have different types of friends. There are my close friends, the people I've known for years and who know me really well. These are the friends I can call if I'm having a bad day and need to vent, or if I have good news I want to share. They're the people who remember important things about my life and check in on me regularly. Then there are my casual friends or acquaintances. These are people I enjoy spending time with but don't know as deeply. Maybe they're coworkers I get along with, or neighbors I chat with occasionally, or people I see at my yoga class. These relationships are more surface level, but they're still valuable. They add richness to your life and your social circle. Making friends as an adult can be challenging. When you're a kid or in school, you're surrounded by peers and it's easy to make friends. You see the same people every day, you have shared experiences, and you have lots of time to hang out. But as an adult, making new friends requires more effort. You have to put yourself in situations where you'll meet people. This might mean joining a club or group based on your interests, taking a class, volunteering, or attending community events. And then you have to take the initiative to turn those acquaintances into actual friendships. You might suggest getting coffee together, or invite them to an event, or exchange phone numbers to stay in touch. It can feel awkward or scary to reach out to someone and suggest hanging out. What if they say no? What if they don't like you as much as you like them? These are normal worries, but try not to let them stop you. Most people are happy to make new friends and will appreciate your effort. And if someone isn't interested in becoming friends, that's okay too. It's not personal, it just means you weren't a good match, and that's completely normal. Maintaining friendships also takes effort. Life gets busy, and it's easy to lose touch with people if you don't make an effort to stay connected. I try to check in with my friends regularly, even if it's just a quick text message saying, "Hey, thinking of you, hope you're doing well." Little gestures like that show people you care about them. I also make an effort to see my friends in person when possible. With technology, it's easy to keep in touch through texts and social media, and that's great, but there's something special about face-to-face interaction. Meeting up for lunch, going to a movie together, or just hanging out at someone's house. These in-person experiences strengthen your bond in a way that digital communication can't quite replicate. One thing I've learned about friendship over the years is that quality matters more than quantity. It's better to have a few close, genuine friendships than 100 superficial ones. The people who truly matter are the ones who are there for you when it counts, who accept you for who you are, and who make your life better just by being in it. Now let's talk about something that's on everyone's mind at some point: money. I know, it's not the most fun topic, but it's an important one. Managing money is a life skill that everyone needs. I'll be honest, I'm not naturally great with money. For a long time, I struggled with budgeting and saving. I would spend money on things I didn't really need, and then I'd wonder where all my money went at the end of the month. It took me a while to get better at managing my finances. One thing that really helped me was creating a budget. A budget is basically a plan for your money. You figure out how much money you have coming in each month, usually from your job, and then you decide how you're going to allocate that money across your different expenses and goals. First, you have your fixed expenses. These are costs that stay the same every month, like rent or mortgage payments, car payments, insurance, and any loan payments you have. These are non-negotiable, you have to pay them. Then you have variable expenses. These change from month to month. Things like groceries, gas for your car, electricity and water bills, entertainment, and eating out fall into this category. You have more control over these expenses. You can decide to spend less on eating out, for example, by cooking at home more often. After accounting for all your expenses, Whatever's left over can go toward savings and financial goals. Financial experts recommend having an emergency fund, which is money set aside for unexpected expenses like car repairs, medical bills, or if you lose your job. The general recommendation is to save enough to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses. That sounds like a lot, and it is, but you don't have to save it all at once. Even putting aside a little bit each month adds up over time. Besides an emergency fund, you might have other financial goals. Maybe you're saving for a vacation or a down payment on a house or retirement. Having specific goals makes it easier to stay motivated to save because you can visualize what you're working toward. One trick that's helped me save money is to pay myself first. This means that as soon as I get paid, I transfer a certain amount directly into my savings account before I spend money on anything else. If I wait until the end of the month to save whatever's left over, there's usually nothing left. But if I save first, I adjust my spending to fit what remains. Credit cards are another important topic when it comes to money management. Credit cards can be useful, they're convenient, and they can help you build credit, which is important if you ever want to get a loan. But they can also be dangerous if you're not careful. It's really easy to spend more than you can afford when you're using a credit card because it doesn't feel like real money in the moment. The key with credit cards is to only charge what you can afford to pay off in full when the bill comes. If you carry a balance, meaning you don't pay the full amount, you'll be charged interest, and credit card interest rates are typically really high, often 15 to 25%. That means if you owe $1,000 and only pay the minimum payment each month, you could end up paying hundreds of dollars extra in interest over time. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I first got a credit card in my early 20s, I wasn't very responsible with it. I'd buy things without really thinking about whether I could pay for them, and I'd only make the minimum payment each month. Before I knew it, I had several $1,000s in credit card debt and was paying a ton in interest. It took me a couple of years to pay it all off, and I felt so stressed about it the whole time. Now I'm much more careful. I use my credit card for convenience and to earn rewards points, but I always pay the full balance each month. Money can be a source of stress for a lot of people. Financial problems can affect your mental health, your relationships, and your overall quality of life. That's why it's so important to develop good money management habits early on. If you're struggling with money issues, don't be afraid to seek help. There are financial counselors and advisors who can help you create a plan to get your finances on track. All right, I think we've covered personal finance enough for now. Let's talk about work and careers. For most people, work takes up a huge portion of their lives. If you work a typical full-time job, that's 40 hours a week, which is a lot. That's why it's important to find work that's at least somewhat fulfilling, or at the very least, tolerable. Some people are lucky enough to have their dream job, something they're passionate about that also pays the bills. But for many people, work is just work. It's something they do to earn money so they can support themselves and do the things they enjoy outside of work. And that's okay. Not everyone can have a job they love, and there's nothing wrong with viewing work as a means to an end rather than as your life's purpose. I think the ideal situation is to find something that balances several factors. You want a job that pays enough to meet your needs and hopefully some of your wants. You want a job that doesn't make you miserable, even if it doesn't make you ecstatic. You want a job with reasonable hours and maybe some flexibility. And if possible, you want a job that gives you some sense of accomplishment or contribution. The modern workplace has changed a lot in recent years, especially with the rise of remote work. Remote work means you work from home or from wherever you want, rather than going into an office. This became much more common during the pandemic, and many companies have continued to offer remote or hybrid options even after the pandemic ended. There are pros and cons to remote work. On the positive side, you save time and money on commuting. You can work in comfortable clothes. You have more flexibility in your schedule. You can take a break to throw in a load of laundry or start dinner. For people with long commutes, remote work can add hours back to their day. On the negative side, it can be isolating. You miss out on the social aspect of going to an office and interacting with coworkers in person. It can also be harder to separate work from personal life when your home is also your office. Some people find it difficult to stay motivated and productive without the structure of an office environment. Personally, I think a hybrid model is ideal, where you work from home some days and go into an office other days. That way you get the benefits of both. But everyone's different, and what works best depends on your personality, your job, and your life situation. Job interviews are something that makes a lot of people nervous. I get it, they can be stressful. You're essentially trying to sell yourself and convince someone that you're the best person for the job. The pressure can be intense. The key to a successful interview is preparation. Before the interview, research the company. Learn about what they do, their mission, their values. Look at their website and their social media. The more you know about the company, the better you can tailor your answers to show how you'd be a good fit. Also, prepare answers to common interview questions. Questions like, "Tell me about yourself," or "What are your strengths and weaknesses?" or "Why do you want this job?" or "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" These questions come up in almost every interview, so you should have thoughtful answers ready. For the "Tell me about yourself" question, they don't want your entire life story. They want a brief professional summary. You might talk about your educational background, your relevant work experience, and why you're interested in this particular position. Keep it concise, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. For the strengths and weaknesses question, choose real strengths that are relevant to the job and give examples of how you've demonstrated those strengths. For weaknesses, be honest but strategic. Don't say something terrible like, "I'm always late," or "I don't work well with others." Choose a real weakness but frame it in a way that shows you're working to improve. For example, "I sometimes have trouble delegating because I like to make sure things are done right. But I've been working on trusting my team members more and giving them opportunities to take on responsibilities." During the interview, make eye contact, smile, and try to project confidence even if you're nervous inside. Speak clearly and take your time answering questions. It's okay to pause for a moment to think before you answer. And don't forget to ask questions at the end when they say, "Do you have any questions for us?" Always have a few questions prepared. This shows you're genuinely interested in the position. You might ask about the team you'd be working with, what a typical day looks like, what the biggest challenges facing the department are, or what opportunities there are for professional development. After the interview, send a thank you email within 24 hours. Thank them for their time, reiterate your interest in the position, and mention something specific from the interview that resonated with you. This shows professionalism and keeps you fresh in their mind. Even if you don't get the job, every interview is good practice. You learn what kinds of questions to expect, you get more comfortable talking about yourself, and you get better at presenting yourself professionally. So try not to get too discouraged if you don't get an offer. Just keep trying. Let's shift gears again and talk about health and wellness. Your health is truly your most valuable asset. Without your health, everything else becomes so much harder. That's why it's important to take care of yourself, physically and mentally. Physical health involves things like eating nutritious food, exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, and avoiding harmful habits like smoking or excessive drinking. These are things we all know we should do, but actually doing them consistently is another matter. Let's start with diet. Eating well doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to follow some extreme diet or count every calorie. The basics of healthy eating are pretty simple. Eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. Choose whole grains over refined grains. Include lean proteins like chicken, fish, beans, or tofu. Limit processed foods, sugary snacks, and fast food. Drink plenty of water. Of course, it's also okay to enjoy treats in moderation. I'm a firm believer in the 80-20 rule. If you eat healthy, nutritious foods 80% of the time, you can enjoy less healthy foods the other 20% of the time without guilt. Life is meant to be enjoyed, and food is one of life's pleasures. You should be able to have a slice of cake at a birthday party or enjoy pizza with friends without feeling bad about it. Exercise is another pillar of physical health. The general recommendation is to get at least 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week, which works out to about 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Moderate exercise means activities like brisk walking, swimming, cycling, or dancing, anything that gets your heart rate up and makes you breathe a little harder. You don't have to join a gym or buy expensive equipment. Walking is free and it's great exercise. You can walk around your neighborhood at a park or on a trail. If you have stairs in your house, walking up and down the stairs is a good workout. You can follow exercise videos on YouTube. There are so many options. The key is finding something you enjoy enough that you'll actually do it consistently. If you hate running, don't force yourself to run. Try different activities until you find something that works for you. Maybe it's yoga or Zumba or hiking or playing tennis. When exercise feels fun rather than like a chore, you're much more likely to stick with it. Sleep is hugely important and often overlooked. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night to function optimally. When you don't get enough sleep, everything suffers. Your mood, your concentration, your decision-making, your immune system. Chronic sleep deprivation is linked to all sorts of health problems. I know sleep can be challenging. Maybe you have a busy schedule, or you have trouble falling asleep, or you wake up during the night. If you struggle with sleep, try establishing a consistent sleep schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Create a relaxing bedtime routine. Maybe you take a warm bath, read for a while, or do some gentle stretching. Avoid screens for at least an hour before bed, because the blue light from phones, tablets, and computers can interfere with your body's production of melatonin, which is the hormone that makes you feel sleepy. Also, make sure your bedroom is conducive to sleep. It should be dark, quiet, and cool. If you can't control the light or noise, consider using blackout curtains, an eye mask, or earplugs. Some people find white noise machines or fan sounds helpful for blocking out disruptive noises. Now let's talk about mental health. Mental health is just as important as physical health, but it often doesn't get the same attention. There's still some stigma around mental health issues, which is unfortunate because mental health challenges are incredibly common. According to statistics, millions of people struggle with things like anxiety, depression, stress, or other mental health conditions at some point in their lives. Taking care of your mental health involves several things. It means managing stress in healthy ways. It means seeking help when you need it. It means being kind to yourself. It means maintaining social connections. It means doing things you enjoy. Stress is a normal part of life, but chronic stress can be harmful. Everyone has different ways of managing stress. For some people, exercise helps. For others, it's meditation or deep breathing exercises. Some people find that creative activities like art or music help them decompress. Talking to a friend or therapist can also be really helpful. If you're struggling with your mental health, please don't suffer in silence. Talk to someone. This could be a friend or family member you trust, or a professional like a therapist or counselor. Therapy isn't just for people with serious mental illness. Therapy can help anyone work through challenges, develop coping strategies, and gain insights into themselves. There's no shame in seeking help. In fact, it takes strength to recognize when you need support and to reach out for it. Self-care is another important aspect of wellness. Self-care means taking time to do things that recharge you and make you feel good. This looks different for everyone. For some people, self-care is taking a long bubble bath with candles and music. For others, it's going for a run or spending time in nature. For others, it's curling up with a good book or binge watching a favorite TV show. The key is to make self-care a regular practice, not something you only do when you're at the breaking point. Even just 15 or 20 minutes a day doing something for yourself can make a difference in how you feel. All right, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about daily routines, grocery shopping, hobbies, food and restaurants, transportation, weather, technology, friendships, money management, work and careers, and health and wellness. That's quite a range of topics. Before we wrap up, I want to talk a bit about the importance of gratitude. Gratitude means being thankful and appreciative for what you have. It's easy to focus on what's wrong in our lives, what we don't have, what we wish were different. But research has shown that practicing gratitude, actively acknowledging the good things in your life, can improve your mental health and overall happiness. There are different ways to practice gratitude. Some people keep a gratitude journal where they write down 3 things they're grateful for each day. These don't have to be big things. They can be simple, like, I'm grateful for the sunshine today, or I'm grateful for the delicious dinner I had, or I'm grateful for the kind message my friends sent me. Other people practice gratitude by expressing appreciation to others. When someone does something nice for you, take a moment to genuinely thank them. Tell the people in your life that you appreciate them. These small acts of acknowledgement can strengthen your relationships and make both you and the other person feel good. I try to start and end each day with a moment of gratitude. In the morning, I think of one thing I'm looking forward to. In the evening, I reflect on one good thing that happened during the day. It only takes a minute, but it helps me maintain a more positive outlook. I'm also grateful for you for taking the time to listen to me and practice your English. Learning a language is a big commitment, and the fact that you're here, putting in the effort, shows dedication and determination. That's something to be proud of. Remember, language learning is a journey, and every step forward is progress. There will be days when you feel like you're making great strides, and there will be days when you feel stuck or frustrated. That's all part of the process. The important thing is to keep going, to keep exposing yourself to the language, to keep practicing. Don't compare yourself to others. Everyone learns at their own pace. Some people pick up languages quickly, while others take more time. Neither is better or worse, it's just different. Focus on your own progress. Compare yourself to where you were a month ago, or 6 months ago, or a year ago. I bet you've improved more than you realize. Also, celebrate your wins, even the small ones. Did you understand a full sentence in an English TV show without subtitles? That's awesome. Did you successfully order food in English at a restaurant? Great job. Did you read an entire article in English? That's fantastic. These little victories add up. And be patient with yourself. You're not going to become fluent overnight, and that's okay. Language learning takes time. But if you stick with it, if you practice consistently, you will improve. I promise you that. You might not notice the progress from day to day, but over weeks and months, you'll look back and be amazed at how far you've come. I also want to encourage you to find joy in the learning process. Yes, learning English is useful for your career, for travel, for accessing information, and for so many other practical reasons. But it can also be enjoyable. Explore topics that interest you in English. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows in English. If you're into sports, follow English language sports coverage. If you enjoy science, read science articles in English. When you combine language learning with your interests, it becomes much more engaging and fun. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. I can't stress this enough. Mistakes are not failures, they're learning opportunities. Every time you make a mistake and correct it, you're strengthening your understanding. Native speakers make mistakes too. We mispronounce words, we use incorrect grammar, we forget vocabulary. Language is messy and imperfect, and that's part of what makes it human and interesting. If you're nervous about speaking English with others because you're afraid of making mistakes, I want you to take a deep breath and let go of that fear. Most people are understanding and patient when they know you're learning their language. They're not going to judge you for imperfect English. And honestly, anyone who would judge you isn't worth your time or energy anyway. I want to share one more thought before we finish. Learning English, or any language, isn't just about acquiring a new skill. It's about opening doors. It's about connecting with people from different cultures and backgrounds. It's about accessing ideas and stories and perspectives that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. Language is a bridge between people and between worlds. Every language you learn makes you a richer, more well-rounded person. It expands your view of the world. It helps you understand that there are many different ways of thinking and expressing ideas. It makes you more empathetic because you understand how challenging it is to communicate in a language that isn't your native tongue. So as you continue on your English learning journey, remember that you're not just learning vocabulary and grammar. You're building bridges. You're expanding your horizons. You're giving yourself the gift of being able to connect with millions of people around the world. That's pretty incredible when you think about it. I hope you found this session helpful. More importantly, I hope you've gotten some good listening practice and picked up some new vocabulary and phrases. Remember, the more you listen to natural English, the more comfortable you'll become with the rhythm and flow of the language. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I really enjoy creating this content and helping people on their English learning journey. If you found this helpful, I'd love for you to come back for more practice. There's always more to learn, more to discover, and more conversations to be had. Keep practicing, keep learning, and most importantly, believe in yourself. You're capable of amazing things, and learning English is absolutely within your reach. It might take time, it might be challenging sometimes, but you can do this. I believe in you. Take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and I'll see you next time. Until then, keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing. You're doing great, and I'm cheering you on every step of the way. Goodbye for now, and happy learning.